When the Galactic Council sealed the skies above Earth, the stars went silent. The message they sent before vanishing into the void was short, cold, and final. Humanity is beyond salvation. They called it mercy. They called it containment. In truth, they simply didn't want to waste resources on a dying world. Earth's atmosphere had turned toxic. The oceans were acid. The old nations had crumbled into dust and static. No one believed the species could endure another decade. And yet, deep beneath the charred remains of cities, humanity endured. In the ruins of New Geneva, under a sky of burnt red clouds, the last scientists of Earth gathered. They buried the archives of their age beneath kilometers of rock and plasma shielding. The deep sanctums were carved, vast subterranean fortresses where the survivors swore an oath. Humanity does not die. Humanity waits. Decades turned into centuries. The surface became a tomb, but the world below was alive. Children grew up under artificial skies. They learned of the betrayal, of the silence that followed, and of the Council's promise that Earth would fade quietly. They learned to hate that word, fade. By the third generation, the Terran remnant was no longer surviving, they were rebuilding. They engineered new forms of agriculture that thrived on acid soil. They rediscovered fusion, then exceeded it. They built vessels not of beauty, but of endurance, ships forged in dark metal, shaped for war, for vacuum, for vengeance. They didn't call them starships, they called them revenants. The first to rise from Earth's gravity well was the TSS Resurgence. Its engines thundered through the silence of centuries, its black hull reflecting the light of a sun long denied. As it broke through the clouds, people wept, not for freedom, but for reckoning. Above them lay the galaxy that had abandoned them. The Council had forgotten Earth. They taught their children that humanity was extinct, a cautionary tale of arrogance and self-destruction. But whispers began to spread, strange signals detected near forgotten sectors, ghost fleets moving in perfect formation, transmissions encoded in ancient Terran languages. At first, no one believed it. Then the first Council vessel vanished. Its final transmission was static, then a voice, cold, deliberate, unmistakably human. We remember. When the wreckage was recovered, every plate of hull metal had been scorched with the same symbol, a silver planet wreathed in flame. The Council dismissed it as pirates until entire trade convoys began disappearing. Communications were jammed, supply lines were severed, and then a single broadcast appeared across the galactic net, hijacking every channel at once. The voice spoke slowly, calmly, in a language long thought extinct. 5 centuries ago, you left us to die. You thought we would fade, but humanity does not fade. Humanity learns. Humanity returns. And for the first time in half a millennium, the stars listen to Earth again. At first, the Galactic Council refused to believe. Humanity had been written out of history, classified as extinct, a failure of evolution. Yet the evidence was undeniable. Patrols vanished near forgotten sectors, supply convoys were found adrift, engines dead, crews gone. Then came the recordings, black ships emerging from folded space, striking with surgical precision, leaving nothing but silence in their wake. The Council called an emergency session in the spire of Unity.
Holograms of leaders from 100 worlds flickered above the chamber floor, all speaking at once: panic, disbelief, denial. Admiral Solon of the Cathari fleet slammed his taloned hand on the table. "These attacks bear Terran markings. The humans are extinct. This must be an imitation. Rebels, pirates, anyone but them." But then the transmission played. A figure stood in shadow, backlit by the faint glow of Earth's burned sun. The voice was unmistakably human, measured, calm, and cold enough to still the chamber. "You left us to die. You called it mercy. We called it betrayal. We are the remnant of Earth, and we are coming." The feed cut out, leaving silence that felt heavier than any weapon. Far from the Council's glittering worlds, humanity's fleets gathered in the dark. Admiral KL stood on the bridge of the TSS Vengeance, eyes locked on the holographic map before him. Hundreds of Terran vessels, sleek, angular, obsidian black, hovered in perfect formation. Every hull bore scars of recycled alloy and the blazing emblem of a flaming Earth. "Target Kethra Prime," Kale ordered. "Reason, they voted first to abandon us." The Terran Armada dropped out of fold space above Kethra's pale blue atmosphere. The planetary defense grid activated immediately. 12 orbital cannons, hundreds of interceptor drones, and a planetary shield pulsing with energy. The Kethrans were ready for war, but they had never fought humans. The Vengeance led the assault, deploying Tempest spears. Kinetic slugs accelerated to a fraction of light speed. They didn't explode. They erased. Entire defense platforms disintegrated before they could return fire. Terran stealth ships slipped past the harmonics and detonated EMP torpedoes from within the network. In 6 minutes, Kethra Prime's defenses collapsed. KL's second-in-command, Captain Aaron Holt, watched in silent awe. "All targets neutralized, sir. The planet is defenseless." "Then let them see what they left behind," Kale said. The Terrans broadcast a live message to every world that once sat on the Council. The transmission showed Kethra's capital dome, glimmering and proud, until the orbital strike began. Fire rained from the heavens. The dome shattered. The city burned. Kale's voice echoed over the destruction. "This is not conquest. This is remembrance." When the broadcast ended, the galaxy went silent again, just as it had when Earth fell. Only this time it was fear, not pity, that silenced them. The Council convened once more, but now their voices trembled. "If the humans have truly returned," one delegate whispered, "then extinction may come for us instead." And somewhere beyond the stars, Earth's lost children whispered back, "We warned you."
The fall of Kethra Prime shattered the illusion of the Council's invincibility. For the first time in centuries, the mighty coalition of species found itself afraid. The humans they had written off as extinct had returned, not as refugees, but as reapers. Council fleets mobilized across every sector. Thousands of warships, countless drones, and mercenary squadrons moved to defend critical worlds, but their unity was brittle. Each race blamed the other for the ancient decision to abandon Earth. Accusations turned into arguments, and arguments into chaos. Meanwhile, humanity struck again. The Terran Armada appeared in multiple systems simultaneously, executing perfect precision attacks that crippled shipyards and command relays. They didn't conquer territory, they dismantled infrastructure.
cutting power grids, silencing communications, leaving worlds blind and isolated. On the TSS Vengeance, Admiral Kale watched the galactic map bleed red. "They scatter like insects when the light hits them," said Captain Aaron Holt. Kale's voice remained calm, almost detached. "Insects survive. They adapt. The Council never learned that skill. We did." But beneath that cold composure lay something deeper. Kale had been raised on the stories of the Silence Years, the centuries when humanity huddled underground, learning to live in darkness. His grandmother had been one of the engineers who built the first reactor after the collapse. She used to tell him, "They left us to die, child, so we learned to become death." And now that prophecy was being fulfilled. The Council, desperate and cornered, dispatched its elite fleet, the Azure Vanguard, 1,000 ships under the command of High Admiral Tariff. Their mission? Intercept the Terrans at the ecliptic verge, a strategic choke point near the Rimworlds. The humans were waiting for them. When the Azure Vanguard arrived, they found an empty sector, a silent field of drifting asteroids. Then the stars flickered. The black hulls of Terran ships emerged from stealth fields surrounding the Vanguard in a perfect sphere. Kale's voice cut through the void. "We once sealed your skies. Today, we seal yours." The battle that followed was chaos incarnate. The Vanguard unleashed waves of plasma torpedoes, but the Terrans moved like predators, coordinated, efficient, merciless. They used gravity mines and dark matter warheads, technologies the Council didn't even understand existed. In less than 20 minutes, the proud Azure Vanguard ceased to exist. One lifeboat survived long enough to transmit a final message back to the Council. "They fight like no species we've ever faced. They anticipate us. They know our every move." The transmission cut out with static, followed by a haunting echo. A heartbeat. The Terrans had embedded the sound into the broadcast deliberately. It played across the galactic network for hours, a reminder that humanity, once left to die, was very much alive. The Council's last illusion, control, was gone. Across 1,000 worlds, fear spread like wildfire. The humans hadn't come to rebuild what was lost. They'd come to make the galaxy remember why they should never have been forgotten.
The galaxy had gone silent again. But this time, it wasn't apathy. It was fear. The Council's fleets were ashes. Their supply lines were gone. Their pride was broken. World after world went dark under the shadow of Terran vengeance. But humanity did not gloat. They did not celebrate. They simply kept moving, methodical, unstoppable, silent as the grave they'd once been left in. On the bridge of the TSS Vengeance, Admiral Kale stood before a hologram of the Council's capital, Varelia Prime, a world of marble cities and golden towers. It was where the vote had been cast 5 centuries ago, condemning Earth to die. Now, it was humanity's final destination. "All fleets in position," reported Captain Aaron Holt. "Then let history remember this day," Kale said. "The day the forgotten returned." The Terran armada emerged from fold space like a storm given shape. Billions watched the broadcast, on worlds light years away, in stations hidden among nebulae, in the terrified halls of the Council spire itself. The black ships of Earth hung over Varelia like an executioner's blade. The Council tried to speak. Their diplomats pleaded. Their admirals threatened. None of it mattered. Cale transmitted a final message, his face cast in cold blue light. 500 years ago, you called us primitive, violent, disposable. You turned your backs and sealed the skies. You thought mercy meant forgetting, but mercy without memory is cowardice. He paused, eyes burning like twin stars. You taught us that survival demands sacrifice. You showed us what unity through pain can forge. You created what you now fear. Behind him, the fleet's reactors roared to full power. Thousands of kinetic lances aligned in perfect synchronization. We are the children of the silence. We are the descendants of the abandoned. We are humanity. And then the sky burned. The bombardment was not chaotic. It was orchestral. Each strike was calculated, each impact a note in the symphony of vengeance. Planetary shields shattered. The golden towers of Varelia fell like glass. Oceans boiled. The council spire where Earth's fate had been decided centuries ago split apart from orbit to core in one blinding flash. When the firestorm cleared, a single transmission echoed across every surviving relay, every world that still had eyes to see. It was Cale's voice, quiet now, almost mournful. This was never about war. It was remembrance. You left us to fade, but we became the echo that never dies. The transmission ended. No one knows how many Terran ships survived after the wrath of Earth. Some say they vanished into the void, their mission complete. Others whisper that they watch still from the edges of known space, guarding the ashes of the world that birthed them. What remained was legend. Across the stars, children would grow up hearing the same words whispered in fear and awe. Never turn your back on Earth.